Martell Holt was pushed into a confession after Melody Shari allegedly exposed him with surprising details no one saw coming, sending social media into a frenzy as fans argued, whispered, and analyzed every moment. Melody said, "Look at these pictures. He sent all of these to me randomly this year. That's why he's acting out, because he doesn't have access to this anymore." And her words left the room silent before she opened up about how the system forces women to stay in draining environments. She said Huntsville depresses her, that everyone knows she hates it, that it feels like a dark shadow, but she can't just leave because of her children. People weren't just talking, they were rewatching old clips, dissecting expressions, and connecting dots. And no one expected how deep the story would go. This wasn't the usual love and marriage Huntsville drama. It touched identity, secrets, betrayal, and emotions that don't fade. When Melody allegedly dropped her bombshell, the internet erupted, pushing Martell into a corner where silence was no longer possible. After days of no response, he finally went live, tense and tired, neither confirming nor denying the claims, but admitting. He hid parts of his life out of fear of judgment and misunderstanding. Fans were stunned, unsure if it was a confession or damage control, but the emotional weight was clear. The fallout was heavy on both sides. Melody looked drained but strong, with supporters saying this was her freeing herself from years of carrying someone else's secrets, especially someone who repeatedly hurt her. Martell's supporters were divided. Some insisted no one deserves to be exposed like that, while others believed he was manipulating the narrative again. Meanwhile, their children were caught in the middle, innocent and overwhelmed by battles they never asked for. This wasn't just gossip. It was a painful reality for both of them. Martell appeared as a man trapped between his image and his truth, while Melody stood firm in hers, powerful, yet vulnerable. The tension spread to cast members and producers, with some supporting Melody and others worried about Martell's mental state. Then Martell posted again, calmer, talking about finding peace and no longer pretending, without giving details but revealing everything through his tone. No one knows where this story goes. Next rumors will keep growing. Narratives will keep twisting, but one thing is certain. This moment changed how the public sees Martell, and maybe how he sees himself. Secrets always have a price. Silence can become a prison, and even whispered truth can break chains. For Melody, it's another chapter in her healing and empowerment. She has survived every storm, and this one is no different. For Martell, only time will reveal whether he chooses honesty, rebuilds trust, or continues battling the world and himself. The internet is watching, fans are waiting, and this chapter is far from over. And as the dust continued to rise, the conversations online only grew louder, with fans on every platform forming their own theories about what truly happened behind the scenes. People dug deeper into old interviews, body language, past arguments, and even moments that seemed harmless at the time but now appeared loaded with meaning. Every podcast, every blogger, every fan page started weighing in, turning this situation into one of the biggest discussions this show had ever sparked. But underneath all the noise, one truth remained impossible to ignore. Both Martell and Melody were standing at a crossroads in their lives. Melody, after enduring years of heartbreak, public humiliation, and emotional exhaustion, seemed more determined than ever to reclaim her peace and protect her future. She had already rebuilt her life piece by piece, and this moment only added to her strength. Martell, on the other hand, found himself wrestling with the person he had been and the person he wanted to become. His attempts to defend himself, understand himself, and be understood by the public revealed a man desperately trying to make sense of his own story. Yet the problem with public scandals is that they don't stay private. And every step he took was watched, judged, and criticized by millions. Meanwhile, the show's producers were forced to rethink how to navigate the upcoming episodes, because this wasn't the type of storyline they could script or soften. Cast members whispered about whether this would change the direction of the entire season. Some wondered if Martell was ready to face the consequences of everything that had come to light, while others questioned whether Melody would even be willing to film with him again. And in the middle of all the chaos, fans began asking themselves the real question: what happens next? Would Martell make a genuine change or fall back into familiar patterns? Would Melody finally move into a space of peace without being pulled back into drama? Would the truth eventually settle, or would it keep unraveling piece by piece? What everyone did know was that this wasn't just a dramatic chapter, it was a turning point. A moment that would shape how both of them moved forward, not only in the spotlight, but in their lives. Because once certain truths come out, nothing goes back to the way it was. Their legacy, their relationship, their image, their emotional journeys, everything had shifted. And now, as the world continues to watch their every move, the next chapter feels even more unpredictable. One thing is certain: the story is still unfolding, and the biggest revelations may not have surfaced yet. And just when it felt like the conversation might finally settle, something unexpected happened. More voices joined the storm. People close to the situation, friends, former castmates. Even individuals who had stayed silent for years began dropping subtle hints online. Cryptic tweets, vague Instagram stories, and carefully worded comments started stirring speculation all over again. Some suggested there were deeper layers to the story, things neither Martell nor Melody had spoken about publicly. Others implied that what had surfaced so far was only the tip of a much larger, more painful truth. The internet did what it always does: connected dots that may or may not have been connected in real life, fueling theories that pushed the situation into an even more intense spotlight. Behind the scenes, insiders whispered that both Martell and Melody were under immense pressure, not just emotionally, but professionally. Contracts, filming schedules, brand deals, and public expectations were all hanging in the balance. Melody, determined to protect her peace, began setting firmer boundaries, refusing to let old wounds define her new chapter. She shifted her focus toward her career, her children, and her healing, drawing strength from the outpouring of support she received. Meanwhile, Martell reportedly struggled with the weight of being both loved and criticized by the public. Every word he spoke, every post he shared, every move he made was dissected as people tried to figure out whether he was finally ready to take accountability, or still hiding behind carefully crafted excuses. Producers, sensing the magnitude of what was unfolding, debated how much of this story should be shown on screen. Reality TV thrives on drama, but this situation had gone far beyond messy entertainment. It had become a layered emotional collision with real-life consequences. Some believed the truth needed to be shown as it was. No edits, no filters. Others feared that airing it would cause irreversible damage, especially to the children caught in the crossfire. But as days passed, one thing became clear: the truth had already escaped the shadows, and there was no containing it now. The narrative was evolving, with or without permission, shaped by public perception, raw emotion, and a history that refused to stay buried. Fans who once viewed Martell and Melody as just another reality TV couple now saw them as two people navigating heartbreak, pressure, and vulnerability in a very public arena. And while everyone kept asking what the next explosive moment would be, the real question lingered quietly beneath it all: how much more could either of them endure? Because this wasn't just a storyline anymore. It had become a mirror reflecting their deepest wounds, their hardest truths, and their most defining choices. What comes next will not just change the show, may change their